Hey there, Rowlett. Jeff here. I just wanted to take a moment of your time to go over the lawsuit filed today by the City of Rowlett against Bayside Land Partners and Bayside District Partners. But first, I want to give you a little bit of history before I go into the details of the lawsuit itself. Rowlett bought the 262-acre park from the City of Dallas at a cost of $31.8 million, at which point the land was annexed into the City of Rowlett. To quote the filing, for 20 years all tax and other revenues would accrue to Rowlett to support the Bayside project. After 20 years, the City of Dallas would be entitled to 25% of such revenues except for sales taxes. Keep in mind that longer delays result in less revenue, not only per year, but over the lifetime of the development, since after 20 years, Dallas will begin taking a share. Bayside subsequently purchased the land from the City of Rowlett under a public-private partnership for the same $31.8 million. These two transactions happened almost simultaneously. The purchase was contingent on the signing of a development agreement, which you'll hear more about below, as well as a tax and increment reinvestment zone, commonly called a TIF or a TERS. To do this, a public improvement district was created, which allows the infrastructure such as streets, sidewalks, and other amenities to be funded by the property owners within that area. Obviously, that money was not available up front, so a public improvement district bond was issued in the amount of $50 million. It's important to define Bayside as being two different areas, the North District and the South District. At the moment, the North District is being developed and is well on its way to being a successful and well-developed neighborhood. The South District is the one in question and the one I will be talking about. Once the land was transferred, the development agreement should have taken over, and the property should have been developed accordingly. But as quoted in the filing, but now Bayside refuses to abide by its contracts, and even to this day, after demands for compliance by Rowlett, Bayside is obstinate and refuses to proceed. This mostly boils down to the 8-acre lagoon, called a crystal lagoon, but it also has to do with what was originally planned and agreed upon by both the city and Bayside Land Partners. This includes the show fountain, office and retail space as originally envisioned, and the trolley system that would encircle much of the development. It does appear that Bayside did indeed intend to build a lagoon because they entered into what is called a technology licensing and services agreement to obtain a license for the technology needed in operating a crystal lagoon. And they also worked with the state of Texas in obtaining certain licensing for the operation of a crystal lagoon. A number of feasibility studies were also done to support the bond offering, since obviously the bonds were sold to investors on a risk-based contingency. Those investors want to know that the money is being used wisely. Several quotations are provided in the suit describing why the lagoon would be successful. Utilizing all of that information, bonds were offered in August 2017 for $36.45 million, which was for the South District only. In spite of all these studies, bond issuances happening, and commitments made by Bayside Land Partners, the lawsuit alleges that the developers were deliberately misleading the city about their intentions, and that they were planning something entirely different and inconsistent with what had been agreed. This is evidenced by the claim that, immediately after receiving the bond money in September and October 2017, the lead developer on the project, Kent Donahue, had been replaced by a new developer, Tom D'Alessandro. Reports of the developers studying the plans came only 10 days after bond money was received, and instead of commencing construction, Bayside Land Partners continued several months of studying the feasibility of the South District. No significant concerns were expressed outside of a few tweaks that might be needed. A pre-default letter was issued in June of 2018, and now lead developer Tom D'Alessandro provided a what is called vastly different and non-conforming plan to the Rowlett City Council in July. From that point, negotiations have seemingly failed, and now we've come to this. The remainder of their suit pertains to the causes of action. In particular, the count of fraud does not mince words. Phrases like false misrepresentations, defrauding Rowlett, and the defendants intended to deceive Rowlett are strewn about in this section. What does Rowlett want? The short of it is that Rowlett wants the land back, but it's more complicated than that. If the suit is successful, the land becomes the property of the city of Rowlett. But then what? Well, the original vision remains. Can we find a developer willing and able to continue where Bayside Land Partners left off? How will we work with the North District in continuing and finalizing the construction there in partnership with Bayside Land Partners? Only time will tell. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope this has been informative for you.